strong here. And this is One Take Al, so we're going to go through it slow. Might be some hiccups. It don't even matter. We're going to run with it. So let's go. Feel me on this one. If I start a lemonade stand business, right? And I charge $1 a drink, and I'm killing it. I'm crushing the game, right? What if I now increase every drink to $2 a drink, right? Same lemonade, same business. Now my business is still booming. I just doubled my price and it's still booming, right? Everybody's loving it. The word is getting out. We're spreading out. Everybody's loving it. I got a line down the block now. Everybody wants a piece of my lemonade business, right? So now I'm buzzing. So I'm looking around. I'm like, oh my goodness, like this business is really booming. Like AB said, it's booming. So I said, okay, I'm going to jump this up now. I'm going to see how much it's booming. Let's go up to $5 a clip, $5 a drink for some lemonade. Not even Starbucks, lemonade, right? And I'm still killing it. Lines didn't get any shorter. Everybody's still loving my product. But now what am I doing with inventory? I'm slowing up. I can't keep up with the product because I got to still dish out to all these people to satisfy all of these lines down the block of my lemonade. So I bring somebody else in to help me out on that. I need an extra set of hands, right? Pause. How much is that person worth that I just brought in on the business? That I just started from the ground level up. I was caking when it was $1 by myself. I was caking when it was $2 by myself. I made it happen. Nobody else. I made it happen. So how much is that person worth now that it's $5 a drink, but it's still the same product and it's still killing the game? I am the reason it's killing the game. You see what I'm saying? I think that's a correlation to a nice scenario that Joe Budden found himself in recently with the gang, Mal and Rory in particular. So let's backtrack a little bit. I've been a fan, and shout out to the real Joe Budden fans out there. I'm talking about I got the man's first CD, Joe Budden, in my drawer upstairs. So I've been a fan of Joe Budden. I've been knowing about Joe Budden TV with him and Tahiri and Mal as the cameraman, but we're going to get back to that a little later. Definitely that was Mal as the cameraman, so he's been around for a minute. So, but yeah, we all know and love Joe. If you know him, you love him. If you know him, you can hate him as well. So either way, that man knows how to produce a product. Now, some of them he may not hold on to for a long period of time, but it's still his, and it was still his idea that came up with it from the beginning. So we're gonna go on and we're gonna discuss several things today. I even had to take some notes, and I don't ever take notes, but I knew this was One Take Al, so we're gonna do it in one session and we're gonna keep it moving. So here's what we're gonna do. Let's go back to the lemonade stand scenario. I'm seeing a lot of tweets where people think that, wait a minute, I started this lemonade business, $1, $2. Now that it's up to $5, I had to bring in some help. But now y'all telling me I should be busting it down evenly with two other people that wasn't even around from the beginning? Okay, hold on, wait a minute. The Joe Budden podcast, honestly, is nothing but an extension of the Joe Budden TV YouTube channel, which is why Joe has no problem telling Roy, no, you cannot get a cut of my YouTube revenue that was around and established way before I even knew you existed. I didn't know you existed. So yes, I'm going to keep all this to myself and you can be a part of it. But this is how lazy some of these dudes are, in particular Mal and Rory. If I'm sitting there and I'm telling you, yo, you're not getting any of this cut, but you can use the footage, I'll give you that. You can use the footage and you can still do whatever you need to do because you are part of the product that's on my channel. You can still do whatever you want to do with it. Cool. How come they didn't take that and run with it? You could have been building up your own YouTube page, your own fan base. You got music now you want to produce and put out. All of that could have been stemming from this one product that you jumped on Joe's coattail to produce and succeed with. So now I'm like, wait, are you nuts? All these tweeters out here talking about Joe is robbing them and Joe is doing all this and that. Guys, we're going to talk a lot today about ownership. And I'm seeing a lot of that word going around. A lot of people that's making these opinions about Joe never owned nothing. Joe is the boss. Repeat it with me. Hey, I can't hear you, but say it back with me. Joe is the boss. Joe is the boss. When people want to talk to the Joe Budden podcast about business, millions of dollars, he's right. Episode 437, he finally gained up enough strength to say it to everybody, which we all knew. And if you follow With the Shits page on Twitter, I've been saying it. I've been tweeting it out. We've been knew this. This man makes all of the calls. And it's very simple. It's him, Ian, and maybe Keeb. I think Keeb is very important as well. They gather all of the information, the financial information from all of the companies that want to offer them deals. And it's totally up to them whether or not they want to bring it back to the workers that are on payroll or 1099. I don't understand how this, I mean, Academics has kind of repeated this. Granted, he did it in a disrespectful manner, but just listen to what he's saying because it's very simple. If Rory was in a meeting and a company wanted to talk business about the Joe Budden podcast, would they really talk to Rory or Mal about that business? Millions of dollars. Talk to me. I'm going to take a drink. Talk to me. Would that happen? Would that happen? Honestly, no. They would get on the phone, or Rory or Mal would have to get on the phone and hit up Joe and ask for his ETA because they won't talk business until Joe shows up. Let's keep it 100. Let's keep it 100. So I'm sick and tired of everybody talking about how Joe robbing everybody. No, Joe owns it. He owns it. If it falters, if it crumbles, Rory and Mal ain't going to get none of the blame. None of the blame. None of it. So, of course, Joe should get a bigger percentage of it. I almost got upset with Joe one episode when he said out his mouth, you know, there's some people out there that think I make more than y'all. Y'all remember the episode if y'all real fans. Y'all remember when he said that? And he leaned and he looked at Rory when he said it. And Rory was probably so lost that he was probably like, well, let me run with it real quick. And he said, come on, man. We don't have to worry about them. We don't have to worry about it. Everybody's going to be in everybody's business. Some bullshit. He had to run with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm mad Joe set him up with some bullshit like that. He didn't have to do that. But either way, let's get back to the script. So the Joe Budden TV YouTube channel was basically Love and Hip Hop before Love and Hip Hop. That's all it was. He established his name, stemming right from his rap career, and went right into the YouTube field. So he already had his fan base following him from there. So then, yes, when he starts up a podcast and damn near nobody knows the definition of a podcast at that time, so he could bring on Marissa. And then, see, I've been a fan ever since even when Cardi was trying to holler at Joe on the episode. I think it was like episode 45 or something like that. She was on the episode. So, yes, I remember Chip Tooth Cardi before she became this Cardi B. She was on the Joe Budden podcast. Do your Googles. Go to YouTube. I think it was episode 45 or 44. Just YouTube Joe Budden, Cardi B on the podcast. But either way, she talking about light skin, talked about his voice was howling. Basically, you know what I mean? But Joe has smacked her ass and tipped her so many times in the strip club. That was nothing. It was nothing to him. You know what I'm saying? Because he been around. He been around. So he can go out here and experience all of this stuff and say half the things he says because he's been around. A lot of people know how Joe give it up. So when it came to this podcast, yes, if I begin something and start something, back to the Lemonade reference, if I start it, my name is on it. Yes, I should own a bigger share of it than people that I bring in as co-workers. You are co-workers. You are not co-owners. You are not part owners. This is very disrespectful. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, how in the world does Parks feel in this moment? Because I truly feel like Parks is the glue. I think Parks has always been the glue. I love the fact that he got more airtime on the mic now. Pause. And now I'm just like, yo, he could really blossom. Right now, he killing it with the one-liners. Everybody knows Parks for the one-liners after he got his own drop and shit like that. I felt like he got a little bit more of a green light just to speak up. Now, damn near Parks talk more than Mal. And Mal, you know the cut he's getting or the payment he's getting. So it's like, how does he even talk the way he talks? You know what I'm saying? But let's go back to the script. And I was bringing up another reference as far as if I buy a house and I rent out the house to whomever, right? Family, friends, whomever. Yes, they're living there, but who owns the house? Question mark, question mark, question mark, and one more question mark. Who still owns that house? Yeah, I don't stay there, right? I'm not a resident of there, but I own the house. My name is on all the paperwork. That's kind of how Rory and Mal look right now. You guys are just living there. Michael Vick, when the feds came to that house in Virginia, he wasn't nowhere in sight. All them dogs they was digging up, all them people, they asking to see Michael Vick, who owns the place. That's probably the first thing they ask. Knock on the door, knock, knock. Yo, who owns this place? See what I'm saying? I'm not going to talk to people that's just living and sleeping on a couch. I'm going to talk to who owns the place. No different here with the podcast. No different. Very simple. So we're going to be in and out. Mal. I'm seeing so much talk about Mal and how real and how solid he is. Guys. This all may be true. Actually, let me not knock Mal. This all may be true. But what do you think Mal's resume looks like? If Mal was to honestly hand you a professional resume, what do you think was on that resume? I'll wait. Don't worry about it. I'm not even going to take another drink right now. I'll wait. Because in my mind, Joe kind of told us on episode 437, Mal ain't really had no job. He been hopping, boom, boom, boom. He hop here, he hop there. He hang out with NBA players. He do whatever on the side. He ain't really had no real job. So it's really funny to me how people get upset when Joe can say, yo, when companies come and want to discuss business, never did they ever ask to speak to Mal or fucking Rory. Further so, this is why Joe can tell Mal the podcast is none of his business. Listen to the words being used, everybody. It's none of his business. It's none of his business. He's right. He doesn't own any of it. It's none of his business. No, I'm not discussing the inner workings of my business with you if we already discussed a payment scale that you were comfortable with, your management was comfortable with, and my management was comfortable with. You're signed and sealed, buddy. No, I don't have to open my books for you. And everybody's dogging him. Didn't Jay say the same thing to Joe when he asked him about title? Interesting. Lot of skeptical people around here. So Mal be the first one to be like, well, he don't give a fuck about the money, right? But yeah, he the same dude that lived off of Joe in his crib for years. Huh? Mal was Joe's cameraman at one point, guys. Go back and look at the old Joe Budden TV footage. Mal was the cameraman. That was him. When it was him, Marissa, and Mal staying together, that was Mal behind the camera. That's what he was. If you know, you know. Now, this guy wants full transparency. Wait, what? I brought you on episode 77 because you added a little bit of flair and I needed a third mic once he got rid of Marissa. Okay, so how can you respect? How can you ask for respect when you speak out the way you do? Both sides of your mouth. Clean, smooth out of both sides of your mouth. Transparency, but the same dude that Joe said wouldn't even share detergent with him. I mean, look, small things can be remembered as big things. Honestly, small things can be remembered as big things. Just remember that. And also, to Joe, a message to Joe, and I don't know if he'll ever see this, monitor the business. Don't monitor people's feelings. Monitor the business. Feelings go away. You never want that business to go away, though. Very simple. But let me speed this up a little bit. So, with Mal, very simple. If you are a fan of the podcast, then you know. All Mal does this. Here, boom, phone. You hear it going off throughout the podcast. He reaching, right? He reaching for the phone. Scrolling. Joe trying to crack jokes with him. He's scrolling still. Like, wait, what? Like, you're not even paying attention and you on my payroll? I'm paying you $10.99? I'm paying you for that? I'm paying you to just stare at your phone all day to NBA players that not in the NBA no more? So, wait a minute. Now you're going to complain about pay scale, but yo, when you show up, I'm doing all the entertainment anyway. Now, Rory, I will respect Rory enough to say I believe he was the brains behind a lot of the Joe Budden podcast vernacular, the interaction, certain things that I feel like they did. I think he had a large part to do with maybe discussions being done as far as business. I'll never take that away from Rory. But for either of them to think that they're on the same level as the man whose name is on the podcast in bold print, that's just not realistic, guys. It really isn't. And we got to be honest with ourselves. Because with Maul, all he does is stare at his phone, and just every time Joe makes a joke, Maul will just take the last couple words out of the joke and go, ha ha, that's crazy. Yeah, well, I could do that. I just did it. Give me the money. Give me the money then. If that's all he does. It's a 3-hour pod. Maul talks for at least maybe 15 minutes, not even. So what percentage is that? Right? What percentage is that? So either way, you show up. That's what Joe say. All you do, you show up and you talk. You show up and you talk. That's craziness. You don't discuss no business with nobody. You don't bring in no talent. You call Julius Randle on the phone. What paycheck? What increase is that worth? What increase is that worth? You can get Julius Randle on the phone. I just, man, this stuff is frustrating, man. And Rory and that Jameson, man, you gotta relax, bro. You gotta relax with the drinking. Granted, on See the Thing Is, if you ever want to know how Rory really thinks, watch that See the Thing Is episode when he was featured on there and he stopped by to talk with Bridget and Mandy. Just watch it. Watch it and listen to the conversation when it got around to the friendship and business talk. See, that's what Rory really wanted to tell Joe, but he was too shook and thought he might lose his job anyway. So it's weird, right? It's weird because you could go on a podcast that the dude you beefing with actually owns to talk shit about the owner because you're too scared to do it on your actual platform that you have with him in fear of what? I don't know. The Jameson would wear off or something like that, and you might actually say some shit that's bothering you, that's been sitting on your chest, and you might get a real reaction from Joe because you know he lived for this shit. Joe lives for this. He was craving this moment right here. Just watch episode 437. Shout out to the Patreonies. Shout out to the Patronies. You know what I mean? We riding. It is what it is. Shout out to Parks. Shout out to Ice and Ish. Listen, look at the cohesiveness with Ice and Ish compared to what Maul and Rory bring to the table. Even if it's not exactly what you're used to, just think about it. Think about it. Sit back and watch one of those episodes and just look at the interaction. That's what that shit used to look like with Maul and Rory. That's what it used to look like. I don't even think actually it ever got to that point. It's real interaction. Ish ain't scared to battle anything Joe say, and Ice been that nigga on Twitter. You know, if you follow Ice on Twitter, officially Ice, you know how he give it up. He keeps it real 25 hours in the day. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, man. But it really hurts me that this pod is over, man. It really hurts me that they couldn't come together, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to Parks. I wanted to give a segment to Parks because again, Chatty Patty, whatever, call me whatever. I am truly interested in Parks' contract. I just want to know. He said he don't have a contract, so maybe I'm just curious of how he's being paid, period. Because Parks is a triple threat. I don't know if that deserves a pause as well, but whatever. Parks comes at it from 3 different angles. An engineer, right? They're at his crib, which is basically quote unquote studio time, right? And he's an on-air talent. 3 different angles Parks should be getting paid. If anything, to be honest, and I'm not in their business, but if I'm Parks, my mortgage is paid through the JBP network. Number 1, cover my mortgage. That should be part of my payment. Actually, since every episode is being shot at my house, now the Patreon, I'm not sure if that's going to be shot at his house, but because that looks like it's going to be shot over at Premiere Studio, where See the Thing is being recorded just with different lights. That looks like that might be part of the contract. Actually, Parks's crib, maybe with the Joe Budden podcast. That's why they got to shift everything over to the Patreon at Premiere Studio. So again, if you know, you know. But my thing is, Parks brings so much to the table that I just hope he's not being shorted. And he was on 437. He was very honest. He's paid handsomely. He feels good with the payments that he's receiving. So God bless him because he deserves every bit of it. I couldn't imagine these dudes, like 7 niggas just spending time in my crib 2-3 times a week. And I got my girl, my fiance up there. Thank God she's as cool as she is. You know what I'm saying? Rim part of the gang. So it is what it is, man. But I'm mad it came down to this because this podcast is literally legendary. It's a legendary platform and we'll never forget it. If you grew up in this time frame right here, how the fuck you going to say you don't know or never knew about the Joe Budden podcast? It's a staple, man. It's a staple. It's an actual staple. So I don't wanna overdraw this. Shout out to all parties involved. Shout out to even Savon and Alex, because I fuck with they Need to Know podcast. It feel like everybody got a way to eat out of this situation. I'm just mad Rory and Mal didn't understand. Look at the bigger picture, man. Why are y'all upset that other people are getting raises if you already making more than you really should have been making to begin with to be B and C mics? It's just, it pisses me off, honestly, because a lot of people feel like they could be in that situation and make most of it way more than somebody just sitting on their phone and chilling because they got a new outfit on that they could go on IG and post it afterwards and tag all the clothing designers afterwards. Speaking of Mal, all of the people that call Mal solid out there in this atmosphere, just remember who was doing the most subtweeting almost at 40 years old on Twitter. Just remember. Go back, check his history on it, check his catalog on his Twitter feed. A lot of subliminals, all that subtweeting, that was coming from 39-year-old Mal. That's the dude you want to title as solid to me? No, sorry. Ignoring people's phone calls, telling another man how he should handle his business with another man. To me, it is what it is, man. That's not stand-up shit to me. I'm not saying Mal ain't a real dude. I'm saying in these particular situations, this is not something that a solid dude would even encounter. He wouldn't even encounter it, number one. Ack, we ain't even got to talk about Ack. We already know him and Joe got something lined up in the future. Book it. Just book it. Joe is creating something here, guys. He's creating a catalog of content with as many people that he know can thrive under his leadership and under their teachings as well. They can bring their talent to the table. You bring them all together under one network, and you just watch it flourish and watch the numbers flourish. That's all he's looking at, man. That's all he's looking at. So shout out to Joe. Shout out to Parks. Shout out to Ian. Shout out to the whole crew, man. Even shout out to Rory and Mal. I'm mad it had to end this way because I'm about 400 episodes in with these dudes. Like, pause. But either way, I'm just like, yo, why now? Like, why did it have? Well, actually, you knew it was over. We knew. Shit. We knew it was over, man. It was just so awkward. You can't come back from certain things. Mal, he seemed to hang his hat on respect. I'm pretty sure Mal, if he thought real hard about it, he would know Joe is the one that was really by his side the whole time. You know what I'm saying? To bring your peoples along with you. And he ain't even know Rory like that. He said he met him the year before he started doing the pod. I'm curious how they even met. Maybe Sony? Who knows? But these dudes, to take advantage of this situation, if you're in the top, I don't give a shit if you're in the top 10% of the people that you get paid to do what you do. How do you shit on it? How do you shit on it? I mean, look at this, stand back and look at the network itself and what is being done. They clearly had to know something. Maybe Joe didn't tell them all the inner workings, but they knew enough to be a part of it for this long. So they had to see some of the vision. Had to see some of the vision. And that's the part that frustrates me the most, because they bailed. They bailed on the fans. They bailed on the network. They bailed on people that had to get paid, that's trying to make a living. And maybe they'll wake up and regret this one day. I mean, Mal straight. Look who Mal big brother is. Two big brothers, whatever, middle or whoever. One of them basically funded Rockefeller. So Mal is good. Mal is fine. Mal will be fine. And I think that's why he's like so blasé about how he moves when he can show up 2 hours late. That's a whole nother topic. Showing up late to work. Showing up late to work. This is a business, my nigga. Showing up late to work. Just because you my man. See, if Joe was a regular boss, keyword boss, Mal would have been gone. Or he wouldn't have just gotten paid for those episodes that he was showing up late, or that cost us money, because see, the fact that we're in Parks' home and not in a real studio, Mal got comfortable. See, Mal got comfortable with those actions. And he like, oh, we good. However, if we was on the clock, homie, if we was on the clock and we paid per hour like a lot of studios do, dog, this would be coming straight out of your paycheck, my dude. Like, this is wild. This is fucking wild, man. Well, yo, subscribe to the channel. You already know how we giving it up if you following. If you know about our podcast on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, if you know how we giving it up, shout out to my bro Quan. You know how he doing it on the NBA tip on the page. Just follow the page. We just getting started, man. With the Shits Podcast, tell a friend to tell a friend. And we out of here. Stay humble, stay hungry, and stay with the shits. Shout out to Joe Budden and the Joe Budden Podcast. This was a fun one. All right, we'll holler.